What up, guys? It's Dragon Ball for Life here today, and I have an interesting topic I want to talk about today. I want to talk about statements versus feats. Now, this is an argument that's been going around a bit in the debating community, and if you don't know what the debating community is, it's basically people who are fans of fictional universes with powerful characters in it, like Marvel and DC, or Dragon Ball, Naruto, any other anime universe. Basically, when people compare, like, let's say Superman versus Goku, who would win in a fight, they try to bring up stats and abilities and reasons why which one would win. And there's a lot of topics and discussions in the community and arguments such as combat speed compared to travel speed, lifting strength compared to striking strength, and this is also one of them. So I'm going to be going through these problems and arguments in the community itself and trying to give my opinion on them. So I'm going to be talking today specifically about feats versus statements because there is two sides to it. There's one side that says that feats are the only thing that matters and that statements don't really count because, well, it's not a credible source. They could be wrong, they could be lying, they switch up, and it can be retconned easily. And then there's the side that says that feats and statements are both equal. Basically, you can use statements and feats the same way to prove which character will win in a fight, and there's no real difference between it. So it's like on equal footing. Personally, how do I feel about it? Well, let's go through it. Let's start with the feats section. Now, before I get into this, I want to talk about the difference between the cultures because I feel like when you actually look it up, especially if you go to these debating forums like, fandom and stuff, where you see people debating who would win in a fight or wiki versus whatever, when you go on there, you usually see people who argue on the feat side that say, oh, feats are the only thing that matter and that statements don't count, are usually people that are comic book fans and Western fans, like from like the West. And people who usually say statements and feats are equal are from the Eastern side, which is manga and anime. That's the side that they choose. So they have difference of ideologies, and it really depends because on how the writing. When you see comic books, the way they write powerful characters is by showing them doing impressive feats like, moving planets, fighting a guy who can destroy worlds, or somebody who can move faster than the speed of light. So they usually do it by proving by feats. They have some statements, but they usually focus mainly on showing the characters' feats to show how powerful and heroic they are. Whereas, in the anime and manga community, it's usually statements. The feats that we do see is through their fights. We see them when they're fighting, they're destroying something, or there might be something they do, but usually they throw out a statement or somebody says they can destroy this or they're this powerful. Like, for example, like Cell when he was fighting against Gohan, and they were both fighting the Kamehameha, he said that he can wipe out the solar system. Now, he never shown doing it, but because if he did, well, they would have lost and the Earth would have been destroyed and obviously the entire solar system. So that wouldn't really work. But the statement was there and people went with that. Now, whether that's true or not, that's a topic for a different video. But for right now, I'm going to focus specifically on statements versus feats. So let's get into the feat side. What do the comic book fans say about feats versus statements? They basically say that feats are the only thing that matters. Statements don't count because they can be contradicted. They're very inconsistent. It really depends on who it's coming from. And I do agree, they do have a lot of arguments there. And I 100% agree that feats are far superior to statements. I'd rather take a feat of a character over their statement. Like, let's say we have a character shown destroying a planet compared to another character that's said to be able to destroy a planet. What would you rather believe, a character that's been shown or one that's been stated? Because at least the one that's shown, you just see it, there it is, there's the proof. Whereas the character that they made a statement about, it depends on who made it, if it was accurate, if there was any other implications that they've done it before, if they've said it multiple times, and you still would need a feat to prove it, like at least around there, like say a character destroyed a moon way back when they were weaker, then they'll have an argument. But for feats, you don't need that. You just need to see it. Maybe there might be some context that you need for it, but for the most part, feats, it's just right there. You got it. There's nothing really to argue about in that one, in that regard. So yeah, I do agree with that. But I don't agree with the sentiment that statements have no place. Because statements do have place. For one, statements add on more to the feat itself because a lot of times these characters are good guys. They're not going to be destroying worlds or doing these crazy stuff. So how are you going to, showcase how powerful they are? You do it by stating they can do something or beat somebody like that, It makes sense. We're not going to be seeing superpowered characters destroying planets. So does that mean that they can't destroy planets at all? No, they can still destroy planets if it's stated and it's, reasonable, but just because it isn't shown doesn't mean it can't happen. So I think that's where the problem is. And yes, I do agree that feats over statements, but I don't think statements don't count at all, especially due to the fact that most feats require statements, have a statement in it. For example, there was an issue where the Flash is saving a city from a nuke going off, and he's grabbing one or two people. He's running there and grabbing them back and forth, and people say it's like trillion times the speed of light. Though the author said it was the speed of light itself, that's not the point. The point I'm saying is they had a statement in that feat to make that feat more impressive. Because if you just saw the feat of him grabbing people from there, you would have to think on your own. But a lot of times, especially with speed, they say, "Oh, this character went this many miles and at this amount of time." Now, does that mean the statement is incorrect and we should just take the feat of it just shown? No, it really depends. So people who are just lenient on just feats alone, I don't really agree. Also, if you've ever seen on any of these forums where you see these comic book fans saying only feats matter, if you look at their video, like their blogs or whatever, depicting how strong their characters are, like let's say like Superman stuff, because I've seen this guy who was talking about how powerful Superman was, and most of his feats weren't even feats. They were statements that he can destroy small planets and stuff like that. It didn't show him doing it. It's reasonable. I'm not saying he can't, but it didn't show it. So it's like you can't be going around saying, "Oh wait, feats only matter and statements don't count." But then in your own blog where you're showing how powerful this character is, you're using statements instead of feats mostly. Because majority of them was statements. And now I'm not discrediting it, but by his definition of we're going by, oh, feats are the only thing that matter and statements don't count, then that would mean that most of the feats that he showed up don't count. And that's just ridiculous. So yeah, like I said, feats over statement, but statements do have a point there. It's just that it's harder to prove a statement because it really depends on the character for one, who is saying it, their credibility, if it's shown before that they have anything that close. It has to have some form of consistency to back it up and to prove it. Whereas feats, not really. But also the problem that a lot of people don't understand about feats is just like statements can be retconned, so can feats. A lot of feats have been shown and either have been considered such as, an outlier. They say it's an outlier as, it's not consistent or it doesn't make any sense. Or sometimes some writers, they might make their characters super powerful, but whatever feat they accomplish, we never see it again or even close to that level. So we can't really take that as how strong they are just because they did it one time. They have to do it multiple times where it has to be stated. But if it's only one time, then you can really disregard it. So yeah, even feats itself can be contradicted. For example, Master Roshi destroyed the moon, but a lot of people say it's an outlier and they don't count it as the characters being moon level at that point. They only count it after when Piccolo did, because they're saying, oh, well, Demon King Piccolo was able to kill him and he was only able to destroy a city. So yeah, there's contradictories there. It just really matters about how you go through it. Just don't be lazy. I think a lot of people are lazy. They just see a feat and they're like, yep, there's context to it. And there's a lot of times where it contradicts itself. So you need to be careful on that front. Now let's go over to the statement side. Do I agree that statements and feats are equal? No, I've already explained the fact that I do believe that feats are above statement, but I also do believe that statements have a place in discussion and debate between who would win. But the problem is, I don't think they're equal. They're definitely not equal. Because a feat, it's easy to prove. You just see it right there and then, there you have your answer. Whereas a statement, you have to go through these many steps to get to that conclusion there. But still, even with that being said, feats do have their problems with the contradictory, with outliers. There's a lot of things when you go into debating. It's not as simple as, well, it was shown this time. It's about, is it consistent? Does it make sense? Like, let's say there's a character that's shown only to destroy islands, and then they destroy an entire moon. And it's like, well, how did they go from island destroying, barely be able to destroy an island or even a country, to destroying a moon? That's a big departure from their strength. So you have to look at the consistency of it too, and the writers, mainly in comic books, because they have different writers, whereas manga and anime, they usually have just the author who's also the artist himself. So that's really the big discrepancy between those two. I do believe statements have a place and you can use it. I think it's just that I wouldn't just rely solely on statements, and that's where it can be very problematic with trying to debate between comic book and anime characters. Because anime characters, a lot of times, they don't prove they don't show how powerful they are through what they can do. That's usually shown throughout a fight, because their main focus of the writers for anime and manga is how good the fight looks, whereas comic books is how powerful and good these characters look. So there's a difference between, I guess, there's cultural differences in writing in there, so it really depends. I just think that feats have better, it's better to have feats over statements, but I do think statements do matter. It's not like they don't matter at all. So both sides I disagree with somewhat. I just have it to varying degrees, and I still do think feats can be contradicted. There's a ton of feats if you look at any character, especially comic book characters, where one writer writes them being ridiculously powerful. As long as if it's not consistent and it's not throughout the entire time, and it's only shown one time, and it's like a one-off thing, then I think you can disregard it as an outlier or just not true, especially if it's too big of a discrepancy of the power. Like if they were struggling to do something less powerful, like destroy an island, but then they're able to destroy a planet the next issue. It's like it contradicts itself. It doesn't really connect. So I think that's where it's really important. Well, I've talked on for quite a bit, and that's pretty much it for this video. Have a good day, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be up with the next video in a couple of hours, but that's it for this one.